everyone relax. It is Sunday. What is it? Sunday, June the 22nd. Oh my God.
Happy
How can that possibly be true?
winter solstice.
Happy solstice to everyone who celebrate. This is your number one solstice adjacent AFL football podcast. Two guys, one cup. Two guys, one solstice. My name's Will Anderson.
And my name is Charlie Clausen. And found him, Will. I found him.
Hang on, who have you found? What have you found?
Last week I was complaining that none of the stories going into this final series were alluring enough to me. I feel like I've done the bottom boys. I've been all about that. Gold Coast don't quite appeal to me. But then on Thursday night, I found the bandwagon I'm going to hitch to, and it's bloody Fremantle. And it makes sense, right? I'm a Saints supporter. They're the Saints of the West.
Uh-huh.
They're a team full of kind of eclectic weirdos. The history has been filled with eclectic weirdos. Most likely to disappoint me at some point.
And Ross was there. So it's the...
Yes, the Ross connection.
It's the ex of your current... Yeah. Like, this is the whole thing, right? Like, it's the whole, when you have a breakup, do you want your ex to be going better than you are, or how do you balance all that sort of stuff? They've been dealing with the idea that St Kilda had a tumultuous relationship with Ross. He took him to some almost really great times, but to some pretty good times. And then he went over to the St Kilda of the West.
He walked out on us, Will. He literally walked out on us.
Right? Just one day. You thought things were going great. You were like, you know what? Maybe the spark that wasn't there originally.
We were Dolly Parton singing to Fremantle's Jolene. Please don't take our man.
Yeah, right? But they did.
They did.
And he went willingly. And he had a tumultuous relationship with Fremantle, because it turns out that Fremantle, they weren't doing an honest appraisal of the relationship that he was in. They weren't thinking, hang on, well, if we can lure him away, there must be something wrong with what's going on there, right? They didn't think about that, Fremantle. And so they got Ross, and all that means, we're huge Ross lovers here on this podcast, but, we know that there's a lot to Ross, it's a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get in a bag of Ross.
Yeah.
But then back to St Kilda again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he leaves Fremantle again. It doesn't end well. But you know what? St Kilda's like, you know who we need back? You know what the great days were? I know at the time, I guess there was some weird idiosyncrasies, but I assume that Fremantle have knocked those out of him, and he'll come back. He'll be right this time around.
Well, that's the cuddly Ross of it all, right? Like, he went to Freo as a hard ass, and then, I don't know, surfing down at Margaret River on his, when he's off season or whatever, just the Western Australian vibes, just put some chill into the man, and he's come back chill.
What if he goes back to Freo? What if Freo make it to the finals this season?
Just a classic deadbeat. Just moves from one fucking lover to the other.
Well, just back and forward. Can't settle on one or the other.
That's right. He's got two families.
Yeah.
Maybe he should coach both Freo and St Kilda.
Yeah. A fly in, fly out arrangement.
That's right. He just says it's just see St Kilda's on the weekends.
It's great, because then one or two games a year, we get like one of those old school sitcom scenarios where someone's on a date with two people at a restaurant and they have to constantly
school holidays. St Kilda has to fly to WA to hang out with Ross and Freo.
Well, but Ross has to coach both teams on the day and not let the other one know that he's doing it.
Games too, not against each other. The Saints are playing the Eagles, and Freo are hosting the Cats at home. And Ross is like tugging at his collar. Hang on.
Well, Ross is like having to take one shirt off and put the other one back on, to be in the right colours for the right situation.
Hilarious slapstick as he turns up to the Freo press conference in his Saints polo. Oh, jeez.
I can see why you get behind Freo. Have you watched enough of Freo to be able to identify why they're good?
Well, yes. And
who you're going to get behind. Paint me a picture of what it is about the Fremantle Dockers that has captured your attention and your heart, and they could be the team that you ride home this season.
Everything I think you and I love about football. It is the same reason we kind of got on the Brisbane bandwagon last year in the grand final. It's the Muppet Show, ragtag, bunch of misfits. You sort of look at that midfield, Sarong and Brayshaw, sort of straight ahead, Trent Cotchin types, no nonsense. But like Brayshaw, admittedly, I haven't watched a lot of Brayshaw this year, but the last few weeks, he's become an amazing footballer, like Lockie Neal-esque in terms of, or, you know, even Merritt, like just the way he influences games. And it's like, when in doubt, like get it to Brayshaw. Then I
I
reckon
think both of them, Sarong and Brayshaw, have, I think, been that good for a very long time. But because there has been a lack of relevance and they've been far away, because I think if Merritt played in Western Australia, we wouldn't know who Merritt is. Like, he'd just be one of those guys that it was even a little bit, and I mean, I think we're going a little bit away from it in this, but with McGovern being forced to retire, when they were running through what his record had been in the last like 10 years, well, you're like, this guy's like 5 times All Australian, like absolutely their best player through like both a good time and a terrible time. Like, his record is probably, you could make a good argument that he is the best backman in the last decade of the
Jared
game.
Healy said pretty much that.
And yet we don't really, like, I think that kind of passed us by a little bit, you know, in the Eastern States. And so I think that we sleep a little on Brayshaw and Sarong because like anyone, like a Lockie Neal or a Merritt, they occasionally don't have a good game. And then we're like, oh yeah, I saw them play once and they weren't that good, so they're probably not great. And then like, meanwhile, while you're not watching them, they're like getting 40 possessions every week and being guns.
But it seems like every good midfield has that balance of, it's like the buddy cop thing of one person's like silk, class and leadership, and the other person's you're kind of like explosive, high-powered showstopper, you know, Cochin and Dusty, or Bont and Libba and Rosie and Butters. And I feel like that is the kind of Sarong Brayshaw combo. Then if you start looking...
Should Andrew Brayshaw change his name to So Right? So you can have a Sarong and a So Right, like together in the midfield. Just even, isn't there like a brand of, oh no, it's so good? Because I was like, if we could do a Whiskers hocking thing where it was like Sarong and So Right. So Right, maybe SEW Right. Like, as in, is there a haberdashery firm, Cotton On style, that we could get involved
in WA
in this deal? Yeah.
What surf brand? What surf?
That's right.
Surfwear brand.
What is the Western Australia?
Rip
because
curl.
they all are. No, Rip Curl and those are all Victorian ones.
You're saying the Western Australian version of Rip Curl. What's the
Western Australian?
I feel like it'd be Cooter Lines. I feel like Cooter Lines has WA written all over it. I don't know for certain though. But yeah, so they've got that's the midfield. Then you know,
I like it so far.
Then you look at
what else?
What Shea Bolton has brought to the side. He started off real slow, but now he is just excitement machine. So much fun to watch. That kind of Cyril impact where he only needs like 10 touches. And I've never noticed Bolton having such a pest. I've never thought of him as being a pest, but he was being real pesty. You know, like I guess Freo haven't had like a good pest since, what's his face, Ballantyne. Now, he was one of the all-time great pests. And I think that maybe someone's had a word to Bolton and said, hey, we need you to be a bit more of a pest. Because he's like pointing to the scoreboard and getting into the opponents. And it was all fun, you know, because it was just had that
maybe maybe that was the pitch they made to him. Maybe he was worried that in this new era of like a Richmond rebuild, it's hard to be a pest in a rebuild, you know? It's the ultimate, you got to be winning some games to be a proper pest, because otherwise it's a bit pathetic to, like when you're trying to do your best pest thing and then they can just be like, mate, we're 70 points ahead of you. Like,
yeah, exactly. So wasn't there a North Melbourne player this year who shushed the crowd when they were 70 points down?
Yeah, we're already shushed, mate. We weren't here. We've gone home. We'll get to them though. That'll be good. But I think that maybe like Fremantle went to him and just said, hey, you can be a pest, and the place to be a pest, to be the best pest, is the West.
Yeah.
And they said, like, let's just get over to Fremantle and we will let you be your best pest.
We want to put it to the test. Can you be the best pest in the West? They said, we don't say this in jest. Would you do it at our behest?
We haven't just guessed.
Look, it's Spinal Tap, written by Christopher Guest. Yeah, and then the backline's amazing too. Like, Ryan has become an awesome player. Obviously, Pearce is a gun. But the latest addition, and the one that I guess has been the most kind of controversial over the last couple of years, has been Luke Jackson. And Luke Jackson, I don't know if you've been paying attention in the last few weeks, but he's really showing he's like one of the best players in the comp. Just awesome.
Even if I had not watched a Fremantle game, because I have resigned myself to the fact that I am, at least in action, a baller. In that I listen to.
That was such a
Do you know
sad
what I mean?
admission.
It's sad. It makes me
That's
sad.
like the start of
But I
some
am.
kind of support group meeting. My name's Will Anderson and
Yeah,
I'm a baller.
I'm a baller. Long time, first time.
Yeah. I remember the last time I listened to Ballers was Friday, Fireball Friday. Kanan, can you,
Fireball Friday.
are Essendon any good or not?
There are certain issues that you cannot escape if you listen to that show. And so the form of Luke Jackson is one of those things that even if I had not seen 1 second of Fremantle play, which I think is actually true, you, of course, it's inescapable. Like, what, where is Luke Jackson playing? Like, because
that's
Kane's
been
got
one
a
of
horse in this race. Yeah,
Kane's
it's one of
little
his like
pet
key
subjects
pillars.
for years.
Yeah, he's been trying to get that one across the line. But everyone has like a pet project, and that's his.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like there's nothing worse than when Kane brings up that he's got the receipts. Like because I can't remember at what point they're discussing Luke Jackson being a gun, but he was like, "Yeah, a gun in the ruck. He's a ruckman. I've been saying that for years, and I got the receipts." It's like, oh, shut up,
mate. But like Kane Corn's got so many receipts that he needs, like, you know how Jay Leno had like a garage to keep his cars. Yeah. Like Kane needs to buy a warehouse for his receipts.
The ATO doesn't even have that many receipts.
They're like, stop sending us receipts, Kane.
You can't claim this on your income tax. But what I like most about Luke Jackson, yes, playing amazing football, but his tattoo work is, so he has that thing, it's that very hipster thing of like he has heaps of random tattoos scattered all over. All I can see is his arms. I assume they'll be all over his chest and back as well or whatever. Best way.
It'd be great if they aren't, by the way, like one of those old school, like there was a time at high school formals where like you'd have the white shirt, but you'd take off the jacket and they'd have the wacky flower patterned arms and backs. I'd like to think that Luke Jackson is a real life version of that. And so as soon as he takes off the rest, it's just completely clear, but it's just the exposed stuff that's tatted up.
Well, his tattoos, though, so they're all in that kind of a similar vein to Libba, but I'll come back to Libba because I've been thinking a lot about this, probably more than I should. But they're all like, he's got like that fizz kind of style of like, he'll have like a, like a pinup girl and an astronaut and it seems to be all stuff that is meaningful, I guess. It's all like, little kind of cute little drawings all over his. But, and I can say this with some authority, they look like the tattoos that a bad boy on Home and Away would be wearing. Like if the makeup department at Channel 7 had 45 minutes to get an actor prepared for a scene and they needed to communicate he was a bad boy as quickly as possible, that's what the tattoos look like. Because
is there any chance that Luke, I mean, he's the right age, is there a chance that a young Luke Jackson has been sitting there every night? Like he comes home from footy training, like footy training starts at 5:30.
Yeah.
They train for an hour and he gets home. And what he likes to do while he has his dinner, mum's got dinner ready for him, is he likes to sit down in front of watching Home and Away. And he thought, you know who I want to be like when I grow up? The River Boys.
Yeah, I want to be the Margaret River Boy.
I want to be the Margaret River Boy. And so maybe it is a tribute to Home and Away bad boy tattoos.
It could be. I mean, the thing about it, because
if I found out it was hipster or hip or cool or whatever that, people call things now to like, oh no, he has the same tattoos as the River Boys on Home and Away and that's cool. I'd be like, okay, that's cool now. I guess that's what cool is now.
Well, it was because I was really thinking about it over the weekend. Like I said, gave it far too much thought than it deserved. And I was like, why do I react to his tattoos like that? But I say Libba's tattoos and I'm like, oh yeah, like, the nerdy teenager from The Simpsons or whatever he's got on his arms. But Libba's are so specific that you're like, oh, okay, like they're niche. Like I imagine that each one of those has a story that relates to an anecdote that he could tell, blah, blah, blah. Whereas I feel like Luke Jackson's, there's a catalog at the tattoo shop. Like you just pick them out and you go, that one, that one, that one, that one. They all seem a bit generic. And I mean that in not like the most derogatory way, but they don't inspire me to ask further questions. Like you see the nerdy guy from The Simpsons on Libba's arm, you're like, what like, how did you arrive at that character? Whereas you see the astronaut on Luke Jackson or the pinup girl or the whatever it is. And it's like, oh yeah, I kind of expect to see that. Like if you ask ChatGPT to come up with tattoos, that's what it would show you.
Our friend Adam Spencer, who listens to this podcast, so hello, Adam Spencer, and I'm sorry if I'm telling this story out of school. I will not mention the name of the person. However, he told a story that he was told about somebody going to a famous sports person's house and discovering in the middle of their living room that there was this beautiful chess set, like that was like in the middle of the room. And the person was so surprised that this particular sports person was a player of chess. I think these days, there's chess club at GWS and stuff, but this was more in the era where the idea of like a sports person sitting down to play the game of chess was, a bit weird or controversial or whatever. And then this particular sports person showed him the page of the magazine that they had just recreated in their living room. So like it was just like it
was a design choice
in the middle of that. So it was design choice. Like it was just So is there a world in which Luke Jackson has just gone into the tattoo shop and they've got that little display sheet of like, here are the tattoos that you can get for like $80. And he just goes in one at a time and says, I'll have this. And he's like, going to do the whole sheet
of milk bars when you go and get mixed lollies.
Yeah.
You'd point out to the guy exactly which ones you want. I want those.
Yeah.
With those.
And he's just like, but in my world, he's like, eventually have a full recreation of that shot that was there
on his back. Hey, you mentioned North before. Big win on the weekend.
Big win
of the Blues.
Should have
been bigger.
They've been playing well,
yes,
for a few weeks now, and I think that's something that like everyone has started to notice. They'd had a couple of wins, but just in general, it felt like it was coming together. But they needed a proper win like this to kind of frank, a period of good form. This is good news for North Melbourne, firstly, before we get to obviously what the majority of this conversation will be about.
You know me so well.
Can we just firstly just take a second to think, like, this is good for North Melbourne and this is good for the competition. I feel like they've come out well from those Western Australian trips, like did well enough in both of those, got a whole bunch of money coming into the club. Now like a proper win against like a team that was playing like a preliminary final 2 years ago. Like this is good stuff from North Melbourne. And like you can really start to go, their back line is nowhere near as bad as we thought it was going to be. Nope. Like, and the midfield and the forward line are great.
How's Pink? What's his name? Not Toby Pink, something Pink. The guy played.
Isn't it Toby Pink?
Is it Toby Pink?
It's something like it's So
we've got Toby Green and Toby Pink. It sounds like the pseudonyms from Reservoir Dogs.
I mean, that would be great if we could collect a whole league. Yeah, Toby Pink. Yeah,
Toby Pink. Who's actually seems quite good. I was impressed. I haven't seen much of North this year, but like McKercher, and Sheasel, obviously, but LDU looked amazing. Luke Parker looks like he's kind of found his feet there. I thought they looked really impressive. That second and third quarter, especially.
Who would have thought that like Luke Parker was? Yeah, I mean, Sydney is starting to turn things around now. But up until like, there's really a world in which you're like Luke Parker, you think if you're going from Sydney to North Melbourne, it's not going to be as much fun, or you're not going to have as much like an opportunity to play good football. But it's probably been at least a draw.
Yes.
In regard to that.
Or it could be like a Hodgie to Brisbane situation where Hodgie sort of got on and helped
Feels
guide
like
him.
It's going to work.
I mean, good time to get on. You got 2 or 3 years left. I think they look like they're coming now. And I know we thought that earlier in the year when they beat Sydney, but there's something, well, it's weird, right? Like, let's talk about the opposition for a second, because you're right. Like they played in a prelim a couple of years ago, but that was one of the weirdest performances I've ever seen. Like everything that I've read or watched since, especially from Carlton fans, seems to be like, oh, that was a coach killer game. Like that was a protest. Maybe not even a conscious protest by the players, but a subconscious protest that we don't care about your game style enough to apply it, except in the last quarter to save face.
I will say, and maybe this is a thing that all football fans, or at least fans of other clubs, do equally, but it does seem to me, and maybe it's just the circumstances we find ourselves in, that Carlton fans, they are the QAnon of being able to read signals from like the amount of discussion I have heard of like, it's a silent protest, it's a subconscious, like it's a like whatever it is.
True.
It's
so true.
They're always trying to read body language
code.
or a moment, or
they're looking into like a photo of Michael Voss. Look at the way his hands are pointed. That's a signal.
they're like Swifties. Like they follow Carlton fans follow the club. Like I don't know if you've seen this, but there's like footage of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce leaving a restaurant, and it's literally 2 seconds. She stumbles on the way out, and the amount of commentary I read around, oh, she's drunk, they've had a fight, blah blah blah. Now, then I saw later there was close-ups of her foot that people had blown up, and she's got like definitely got a blister, and so they're like, oh, she's hobbling because of the blister. Like this has all happened within 24 hours. They are Carlton fans. Carlton fans are Swifties. They are the same sorts of people. Like if there are men in the Carlton fandom who've ever dismissed a Swiftie for the way that they engage in their fandom, they are the exact same.
Well, of course, the first thing I had to do once the game had concluded was
Blue Abroad.
Head over to Blue Abroad. And
of course,
dude, like I was up till almost 1 a.m. last night because it was a 4-hour video Terry did, and I had to watch most of them. I can't say I didn't scrub through some, but like...
Can I say this firstly? So Terry, who we've come to know and love, this season, is this... Because when you're going through it and you are like a place where people come to talk about what is going on, when you have set that up, your hope is that it is to talk about, you'll be able to like, it wasn't, Mackay good and isn't he working well with Charlie, and like, oh, Cripper will win the Brownlow by 90 votes this year. That's what you imagine and hope the conversations are going to be about. And then instead what he has become is this, like the men's shed of football podcasts where like people who are going through this emotional thing have come to like share this moment together. Like, firstly, just before we get into that, like how's Terry going, do you reckon? Is he...
The most unexpected storyline of 2025 is that I would become so enamored with Carlton fans who I had othered for my entire life.
That's why you got to get to know people. You can't just... Right? We were
Everyone's
using
human.
our old cliches, right?
If they bleed, do they not bleed blood? Well, blue blood, but I bleed red, white, and black.
Outdated notions of what we thought Carlton fans were. We were judging them by the actions of their predecessors.
Yes, exactly. I was judging them by the kids who bullied me at high school. And now when I listen to them, I just feel nothing but affinity. I understand it. And it's not just like a St Kilda thing. I think it's fandom you understand. Like the anguish. There was one guy who spoke about how he left it during the second quarter. And he said, like, he never leaves early. He said he works 6 days a week. The 1 day a week he has off, he rosters it around when the Blues are playing because he'll go and hang out with the boys and they'll go to the game. And he said he was at the game, got into the second quarter, and he was like, oh, something's off about this. Like, there's a smell about this. It's going to go bad. And then he started thinking about his life. And he was like, I work really hard. I've got a lot of responsibilities. I provide for my family. This is the one outlet I give myself. So why would I put myself through this? He said, it's a sunny day at the MCG. Richmond's just down the road. I'm going to leave. So he told the boys, he said, I'm out of here.
Forrest Gump style, he just started running and didn't stop running.
Yeah, but he's like, the way he phrased it was like, yeah, I get that. That's the kind of release I've given myself for this year, which is like, we're going to finish bottom 4. That's fine. I have a loving family. I have great friends. I've got, a good career. I'm just going to like focus on the things that I want to do and and the responsibilities I have. And football will just be they're not going to lose my membership. They've got my money. They've got my money, but I'm not going to give this thing the power to ruin my weekend for the next, like, however many weeks, how many rounds we've got to go.
I mean, I'm not sure that we should ever do that.
No, but
like,
we do.
I think there is a level at which, and again, this all changed for me from 2016. Like, this is not something that I could have possibly said before 2016. But the idea that, like, football is just a part of our lives that maybe we have forgotten shouldn't make us so angry and sad. Like, there's so much actual anger and sadness in the world at the moment.
Yes.
Things you could genuinely despair about. Then if football isn't making you happy, here's the good news. They'll keep playing the games regardless.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need you there. If it's a sunny day and you want to go and have a walk or do something else and like do something better with your day, do it. Like, even today, I haven't been to see the Bulldogs this year and live. And I could have gone today. And there was just a part of me that was like, I had some other things to do. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I bet the Bulldogs are going to win by heaps. Like, I mean, like that probably is what's going to happen. And it is what happened. I know that the Bulldogs are good at beating teams that are below them on the ladder. It's almost our absolute thing this season. So to see them do that. So
to
even
quote
on a
Adam
day,
Spencer again, you're the flat track Bulldogs.
Yes. So even on the days at which, like, do I even want to see my team be flat track Bulldogs, right? Like, I mean, I'll probably, when we're done, I'll probably watch like the mini. I'll watch the.
It's a bit like porn. When you're a good team and you play a bottom team, it's like it's not that satisfying. You get some pleasure out of it.
I don't need to see
substance.
the pizza delivered today. Just show me the Sam Darcy goals.
Where's the chapter markers on this video?
Well, what can I skip ahead to? Let's look at the show notes.
Well, I wanted to start. This was the very first caller who came on, and like this set the tone for what was to come. Now,
you know what I liked about that first? Can I just honestly say to the gentleman who called in, good on you for asking how much swearing you could do. Like, didn't say, can I? Like, I mean, you assumed that you were going to do some, but as soon as you were given permission by Terry, absolutely leaned in, and I loved it.
Yeah, well, he's not done. So, Will, I think you know what my new ringtone is. Now, you asked before about Terry.
Yeah.
How's he coping?
Yeah.
Man, he is rising to the moment like I have never seen like any football fan that I know do. Like the selflessness, the philosophical nature of it, the service he realizes he's providing. Yeah. Because he starts off.
He's recognized the moment he's in.
Yes.
And that he does not just need to talk back like shock jock style.
Yep.
Because there would be a world in which you
find his final siren. You've got to fucking.
You're just like, oh, we've got a fire here. Let's pour some petrol on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not to say he's not critical. He was incredibly critical of the club.
Yeah, of course.
So he normally does a preamble before he opens up to callers. And this time round, like I thought he was being a bit hyperbolic because he said, I feel like I just saw the death of a club. Like it seemed that kind of game seemed like a football club that is dying. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I listened to everyone talk and I was like, oh shit, okay, maybe the fans are the club. And so I think he was accurate in sort of, testing the water. But he was sort of saying that it was the second quarter in particular was the worst quarter of football he's ever seen. Like even worse than when they were being coached by David Teague. And there was an acknowledgement that North are an up and coming team and that they were good, but it was more just he always goes on very similar to us vibes. And he said there was just the vibes are off. The leaders weren't doing anything. The young kids weren't doing anything. The coaches didn't seem to be doing anything. It was just it was a bad vibe. And they keep coming back to this. Terry and a lot of these Carlton fans is Carlton are taking us for granted. There's 100 million of them. No, not 100 million of them. There's 100,000 of them.
100,000.
100,000.
Which is so many though.
That's right.
Like it is so many.
And they get emails every week because there's a fundraiser or a raffle or there's this new polo or this new Guernsey. And so they feel like the club has got themselves into an excellent financial position on the back of their fandom and their passion and their loyalty, but cannot hire coaches.
But also the problem is that whether it is coaches or not, once you've I mean, they rolled through the last decade. Some of the coaches that they have got, you're like, well, yes, of course you would have got Pagan. Of course you would have got Malthouse. Of course, like these are not. And in the same way as if you went and got Horse or whoever now, like they were the equivalent of those people at the time. What do you think it is? What actually is going on at Carlton? What is the vibe? You've at least immerse yourself somewhat in this subculture. You might have some idea of what's going on.
I feel like I'm a journalist who's been embedded somewhere and now I'm on a talk show to promote my book.
So tell us about Carlton fans. What are they?
Well, the biggest misapprehension people have about Carlton fans is that they're all arrogant. And what I discovered is they're from a very diverse range of backgrounds and very articulate and very aware of the situation they're in at the moment. They seem to think that it is a corrupt, bloated board that have been there for too long.
Interesting.
That are too corporate. very much that Mick Warner boys club kind of thing. They are not about, they're not focused enough on the community aspect of it and the idea of course, on-field performance. But Terry sort of made the point that, because during the broadcast, I'm not sure if you saw it, they cut to a kid in a Carlton jumper bawling his eyes out in the third quarter. And then they cut back to him a bit later and it sort of became a bit of a running thing. And Terry said, if that
was
kid...
the kid, later when they went back to the kid, how old's his kid?
He's like 8 or something. I don't know.
Did they accidentally get him, or do you reckon there was a director in the commentary?
No, there was
box
definitely there's a director saying, get a shot of that crying child.
Get a shot of that crying child.
I mean, it wasn't just the child. Every time this is, I imagine, what it must have been like at the ground, because every time they cut to Carlton fans in the crowd, it looked like a funeral. I mean, it wasn't just this kid. This kid was the most high impact visual. And Terry was saying, if the club don't get that kid down to Icon Park? Yeah, Icon Park this week with the show bag or whatever, then they really got...
Don't punish him more.
They got no idea. This next guy, you might remember him. He was the dude that Terry had to boot off because he'd brought in his own notes. He wanted to run through everyone who had to be sacked immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's story he's telling...
back with the same notes.
He did have notes.
And another one.
He's back with notes. Again, everyone needs to go. Right. Coaches, board. Yeah. He did the forward line is fool's gold. He described them, Curnow and Harry Mackay. They look like they are good. I mean, they do have like 5 Colemans between them. Something. So I'm not sure it's 100%. I don't know
how else we're going to measure whether they're good or not. Like, it doesn't feel like they're absolutely the problem. Maybe both of them is unnecessary. Like, maybe you do need to get rid of one or the other to like change up your list a bit. But
yeah. But this story he's about to tell is he has come to Terry's show fresh off calling 3AW, and he's going to tell a story about another caller.
Okay, great. You know what I liked about that the most was even Terry was like,
mate, this is the best thing about watching Blue Abroad is Terry, like he keeps it light. It's not like he, some people get really emotional and very upset. They're talking about their club that they love, and he's really good at lightening the moment. And you're right. Like, there is a very funny moment when this caller is talking very earnestly about a dude vomit.
Based
Imagine being on that train.
Loss. Like, why are you vomiting, mate? Did you not see Carlton's performance in the second quarter today? But could you stop? No, I can't.
I can't. Honestly, until they sack the board, I will not stop vomiting.
Until, you know what? I'm vomiting all the way home. And when I get home, the first thing I'm doing is ringing 3AW.
And I've got one more clip to play on that point of laughter. Yes. And I think laughter is important in this situation.
Of course.
This lady called in and she was great. Like, there's so many clips I could have taken from her call. But what I love about this clip is this is what I think every fan can identify with, especially when your team is kind of, sort of middling or to the bottom of the ladder, is you're constantly looking for little signs to say, oh no, we rallied in that third quarter. If, we kicked straighter, we could have, beaten them, blah, 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 blah. So she said, this is like the angle she's been taking with the Blues. I totally get it. I mean, I think that's the one when people talk about Saints fans, like what's the defining characteristic? It's those kind of conversations. That's all we've had for, 152 out of 153 years is level of kind of like.
Just that idea of how, because I never thought I would have empathy for Carlton fans, but I have become empathetic because I understand it. Like right now, I imagine there would be part of them that thinks, God, well, then what do we do? Like, I just think if you're a Carlton fan, and the reason that everyone's like, it's the board, it's the boot stutter, it's the grounds around the wrong direction, it's the fact that we, like, whatever. Like, it's that avocados cost too much right now. Like, it doesn't matter what they're all looking for something because it is a bit hard to explain.
Yeah.
Why is Carlton, like, because they have on paper, like, a bunch of really good players. They have experienced success.
Club is stable.
They do have.
I mean, there's really only one thing you can say, and that's There was one of the best games attended by the fewest people today, which was the Giants and the Suns. Did you see this game?
Wow.
What a bloody
No,
shootout. It
I
was
was
engrossing.
following the score and I was just like, oh, well, Gold Coast have got this in the bag. And then
Totally.
I checked in and GWS just came storming home. Like, was it 8-3 in the final quarter?
It was. And it was goal for goal. Like, it was just like there would have been at least, 6 goals that would have just been. The Giants kind of came and hit the front, but then it was very tense for about a 10-minute period where they just were sort of, they get pegged back and then they get ahead and they get pegged back. Man, those stands at the Beanstalk looked very, very empty.
Really?
Yeah, and also looking at it, but hearing the sound of the crowd, it didn't gel because I'm looking at the stands and I'm seeing mostly empty seats. And I'm like, are they juicing this?
Well, I mean, it is one of those things where this is a weird thing to say, and I'm sure it isn't actually true, but there's just a part of me that thinks you'd be better off playing because they are like that is going to be a good game. And those two teams don't have huge followings of their own. So the idea of them playing each other is always going to be a nightmare for crowds, right? So do you play it in Victoria and pitch it to like as a connoisseur's game? Do you know what I mean? Like if you just like football,
two really
come
good
down and,
teams filled with top
these are
draft
two
picks.
good teams. Just go and have you know what? Is your team having a bad season?
Yes.
You don't like going to the football, but you'd still like to go to the football and see a good game?
Yes.
Well, we've got an offer for you.
Well, let me hear it.
On your club membership, you can come and see Gold Coast play.
I stuck it in the microwave 2 weeks
GWS.
ago when we lost to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, sorry, well, it's okay. We got you on file.
Great.
There's a paper trail for everything.
Will you
now,
take a melted membership?
Yeah, we will to get you to a Gold Coast GWS game. Absolutely.
Yeah,
you're president.
It is a worry. It is a worry because we sort of were predicting. We went very early on GWS about 3 years ago, and Kingsley's last year or two. We're like, what happens if GWS fall off? You know, their form falls off. Like they haven't had enough time yet to build that supporter base. And I was worried about that watching this game because it was everything you wanted in a football game, bar having people there to watch it. But then I checked the ladder and I'm like, oh my God, like, Will, we seem to be back in this situation where, do you remember when, hang on, do you remember when GWS was shit? Where do you think they are on the ladder? Let's do a vibe check.
Okay, all right. Collingwood's on top of the ladder. Then Geelong lost, Brisbane won. So I'm going to say
huge win at the first time they've won at the category in how many years? Like
I don't know,
a long
like
time. I think it's like 20 years or something like that.
So does that mean that Brisbane are second?
Brisbane are second. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that all kind of seems to make sense.
I mean, I would hit the heart, but I can't be fucked. But remember when everyone said Brisbane was shit?
Yeah. I mean,
third place.
Geelong.
Yes.
Okay.
Now this is where it's going to get fucking confusing as fuck.
Fourth place. What
I'll
did
give you a
Adelaide
hint.
do this? Did Adelaide play this weekend?
No. So that's
okay,
right. I was gonna. My clue was going to be you couldn't believe this team was fourth last week, but you remembered.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So Adelaide, no change and no change enough in anything else. They're still fourth. All right. Okay. Makes sense so far. Now I've got no idea. So
another non-competing team is held on to fifth.
Collingwood play this weekend?
Yes, St Kilda.
Yeah, they did. They played. Competing team is held on to fifth in the AFL. Fuck me. I don't know. Who? Hawthorn, of course. Jesus. They're fifth.
They're fifth.
Still.
Yes. I know. Yuck. Now we apparently fell off a cliff as well. Okay, now this is where it gets
terrible. Like
super, super confusing.
All right.
Who's in sixth?
GWS.
Oh, they're in seventh, which I can't believe.
No, but I only guessed that based on you leading into this conversation with you couldn't believe where GWS were. So that was my Hail Mary on that. In sixth place are the Bulldogs?
Bulldogs aren't even in the 8.
Really?
I know.
Win against That didn't get us into the eight.
No, it's unbelievable.
Beat Richmond by like 60 points or something, and we didn't get into the eight.
Well, you've won by over like 10 goals 2 weeks in a row, and you're not in the eight. It doesn't make any sense.
But hang on, Gold Coast and GWS played each other.
Yep.
Surely one of them dropped out.
No. Gold Coast are 1 game clear of the Dogs.
Boo.
That might be just because they've played that one extra, yeah. Maybe they get their bye next week. Maybe. I don't know. So Freo are in 6th position. Freo are 1 game out of the top 4.
Yeah,
and then the Giants, and then the Suns, and then the Bulldogs are just outside, are 1 game out. So like it's not just a question of percentage. And then Carlton are still only
what?
Yeah, Carlton are 1 game out of the 8. None of this makes any sense.
But hang on, didn't one of their fans walk out of the MCG and straight into the Yarra?
Sorry, 2 games, 2 games out of the 8. Yeah, sorry,
right.
I fucked that up. Sydney, Carlton, Port Adelaide, and Essendon are all 2 games out of the 8. So
could Sydney make a charge? They feel like maybe they're starting to get something going.
I mean, that was a weird game to watch. That was so strange. But yeah, definitely now that Gordon's back and what's his name, Mills is playing again.
Yeah.
And Jake Lloyd got dropped. Did you see that?
Yeah, got 38 possessions or something in the 2s, so I think he'll be back. But
no, he won't because no one will know who he is.
Yeah, they'll be like, who?
Yeah.
What?
Never
out
heard
of mind,
him.
out of sight.
Yeah.
Never heard of him. He's never been on the list.
I could see the Swans making a charge. And also, too, like you watch that Port game and every time they cut to like a Swans play, you're like, oh, here's a gun.
Yeah.
And it sort of baffles you that they've been so bad.
But that's like Carlton. It's like on paper, you're like, yeah, they all look like good players.
I don't know. Do you get that with Carlton? I feel like you look at their midfield and maybe their forward line and maybe Wiedering, but there's a lot of Carlton players. I'm like, who? Who's that guy? What's he doing?
I mean,
who's that guy?
You did describe the midfielder, the backman, and the forward line as all being great, which is like a fair amount of the best bits of what you need.
Good coverage, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the Swans. Who have they got? How many games have they got at home? Let's have a look. See what the Swans what their run.
I think they got the Bulldogs
like.
coming up because I think Bont's 250th is in Sydney.
Yeah,
that
right.
Might even be next round.
I mean, it's kind of been a strange year for me because I haven't been railing against the Swans this year for the first time in a couple of years because they haven't really.
They've been no good.
Yeah, but I wonder who's been my nemesis. I haven't had one this season. Have you?
This season?
Is there anyone you don't like? Any team that you're like, I don't care for them?
Hawthorn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Like, I feel like the charm and joy of Hawthorn was drained from me in that final last year. Like, not that I had much of it anyway, but there was a small amount of, cheeky jack, etc. that I was enjoying.
Here's the Swans run home.
Yeah. All right.
Let's say how many wins will get you? Let's say 12 wins?
No,
you need
14.
more. 13 to play finals?
We're playing 13 or 14 minimum.
Okay. All right. Okay. So they've won 6 games. So you got to say they're going to win 7 of these next games. Tell me which ones they're going to be. They play the Bulldogs first at the SCG. I think the Bulldogs
they could win that, but I hope the Bulldogs will win that. Bonds too.
Then they host Freo the week after. See, neither of those are gimmies.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say that either of them are gimmies.
And so now we've only got 6 rounds to go. So they have to win one of those.
Okay.
The Saints, they'll beat them, I reckon, at Marvel. Then they've got North at the SCG. Don't know if that's a gimme anymore.
It's not a gimme.
North have already beat them this year.
Yeah.
Giants at the Beanstalk, not a gimme.
No, not a gimme at all.
Then they host Essendon at the SCG. They should win that.
They could possibly win that one.
Then it's really tough. Then they've got the Lions at the Gabba. Not winning that.
No, they might not actually win a game for the rest of the season. So
you'd only lock in like the Saints.
it's
only the Saints, really.
Run. Yeah,
depressingly, it's the Saints game. Even the Bombers.
The Saints and the Bombers.
I mean, that is a tough run. Bulldogs, Dockers, North.
Yeah, it's like the
Lions.
When you don't have many games that you are allowed to lose in your streak, you don't want that many good teams that you have to play. Although the upside is if you win enough games to do it, you've beaten all the other good teams. So, you go into a final series feeling invincible.
Did you watch any of the Lions game down at the Cattery for Danger's 350?
I didn't know.
Do people generally you've worked in the media and had talked to footballers and listeners about football. Is Patrick Dangerfield generally liked? Because I sort of felt like
interesting.
There was a suggestion that he's a bit of an attention seeker.
I think in the same way as, not in the same way, but in a similar way to Bob Murphy. He is a bit of a different cat, right? He's interested in more than just AFL football. He is willing to put an opinion out there. Like he likes to have a joke and a sense of I think that he is one of those people that divides people, like because he has a lot of like confidence and self-confidence and like, but I think he's admired in the sense that people have seen him as being like a good leader for the players and like a good representative, and that he's an admired footballer. Like when you hear people talk about the way that he plays football, they all seem to admire him. But I do think there's a streak of intellectualism or whatever it might be that,
we love that in Australia, don't we?
So
we got ourselves a reader.
Football community. Yeah, it's real Bill Hicks sort of like material.
Did you see any of the Saints Pies game?
Oh, I didn't.
It's actually good fun.
The scoreline looked all right.
Yeah, I mean, look, we hung in there till halfway through the last, and then Collingwood do what Collingwood do. Like Robbie Hill, he's so great to have him. We've got a Brad Hill. Probably was.
You've got a B Hill,
but not as good because he didn't touch the ball all night, and then the last quarter's like, and Jamie Elliott as well. We don't touch the ball all night, and then we're just going to kill you. We're just going to bob up and kick 2 goals each. And just like
it's inefficient for all of them to play well at all times because it just doesn't work well like that.
Do you think, and I'm not sure, I was asked this in the chat and people wasn't sure what I was going on about. Jamie Elliott has the fresh-faced look of someone who's just had Botox. Like when you see Brad Pitt or Rob Lowe at a premiere and you're like, hey, look, not like successful, good job, nice and discreet, but I know he's been baby-faced for a long time, but he looks especially baby-faced. And in this game, there was something about his face that I was like, has he had it's either surgery or some kind of facial scrub? Can you get a facelift mid-season? Is that possible?
I did speculate a few weeks ago that I thought that he was an immortal. Like, I don't mean in the sense that he will be, in the Hall of Fame as one of the, but I literally mean immortal. Cannot die. He is ageless. Like that he.
Well, he's looking younger now than he did in his draft year, and his skin looks different too. Like I would love to know if he's got a different skincare routine because it looks kind of paler. It's not less solariumed, but his skin is very taut, and there's no bags under his eyes. There seems to be no. I would expect.
Is there, how you never hear from Jamie Elliott?
Yes.
Like something and he doesn't celebrate. Like, how there's some people who are like, well, what's getting your wrinkles, mate? It's all that celebrating.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's all those pulling those.
Tom Papley looks like he's 78 years old.
Right? Yeah. Like it ages you. Like so much wrinkling up your face like that. What I try to do is keep it perfectly stretched out at all times so it doesn't wrinkle up,
Well, can that have a cumulative effect where if he only discovered that at the age of 26, he's actually reduced the signs of aging by celebrating less? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I would like to know like what his skincare routine is.
I want to know.
Because I don't think that it would be a Botox or anything, because I just don't think they're the sort of things that you would like when your face is something that is going to be bashed about in
it's a waste of money
in your job. That doesn't really seem like a. But what does he have like a skincare routine? Like does he have does he sleep on a silk pillow or something like that keeps his face all soft at night? Does he use a mask? Is it like does he have a cleanser and a cream?
Collingwood's a big club. There's got to be some insiders, like some day workers, people who are around the club. Just send us anonymous email. Let us know what's in Jamie Elliott's locker. What kind of serum is he putting on his face at the end of the day?
Or if you're a journalist who's got the opportunity to ask him some questions, just ask. Just say, Jamie, you look great. Like maybe get him a deal. You know what I mean? Like, what do you...
No, don't ask. I'd love it if someone asked Fly at the press conference after the
Oh, yeah.
game.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie Elliott
don't
was
ask Jamie. Yeah.
very impactful today. Third quarter, he really lit it up, kicked 2 goals in quick succession. What I'd like to know is, what is his skincare routine?
No. I think even trap it in a little bit more than that, which is like, Jamie Elliott looked great. Fly, I think you'd agree that Jamie Elliott looked great out there today.
Yeah, he's in great form.
He did.
We love Billy.
We love Jamie. Oh, no, I mean, absolutely just looks fantastic. Could you run us through?
Let's get to the mailbag. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. 2guys1cupafl@gmail.com, or go to our website, everyonerelax.co. There's a little contact form there. Select our show. Send us an email. We've been asking people to send in competitive events that the coaches could all go in.
Oh, yeah, great.
And so this is right in your wheelhouse. Sophie wants to know which coaches would win if they were on the reality show Survivor. Who's making alliances? Who's winning the physical challenges? Who's finding the immunity idols? I'm a biased Geelong supporter, but I think Chris Scott would have a real chance. Over to you. Yeah. I'm not really a Survivor watcher, so I'll let you take this.
Well, okay, this is interesting because you've got to have a combination of the people who traditionally win are good all-rounders. So often you can plot your way or physical your way, social game your way to a certain level. But if you don't have components of all three, then one's normally not enough to get you the entire way through. You'll be quite say you're very physically strong. Like an Adam Kingsley, for example, would go very deep in this competition. Because you keep Kingsley around for all the big physical challenges. There's a storm, you've got to rebuild your sleeping and stuff like that. I think Kingsley's your man in that sort of situation, right? Mm-hmm. I think that who's your plotter? Who's your behind the scenes?
Clarko, Ross Lyon.
Schemer. I reckon Sam Mitchell. Sam Mitchell might be your sort of silent assassin. Yeah, right? He's the one who's kind of trying to play everybody off against each other, get stuff going. I think the Scott boys, the trouble with the Survivor rules is any early alliances, people are looking to, if a couple goes in or people who know each other previously, often first voted out because you obviously don't want people who have a pre-existing alliance.
Yeah. Built an advantage.
I reckon one of the Scots gets cut early.
Yeah.
I'm saying they get rid of Brad, even though they all wanted one day they all have a meeting. They're like, we want to get rid of Chris, but Chris is already, it's day one and he's already he was born on the beach. He's got the look, you know what I mean? He jet skied in from Geelong to wherever they're filming this. And he's ready to go. But so Brad gets voted out first, I reckon, early on. I reckon this is okay. So Brad goes first. Then second eliminated would be, I'm gonna say Fags, probably, just because of the physical nature of things.
Yeah, he does his hammy first day on the island.
Yeah, you keep him around a little bit at the start, but you suddenly realise you've lost a couple of challenges. You probably don't need Fags around. Then at that point, you're probably going to get rid of
Ross Lyon.
Yeah, Ross, I can imagine. I don't know.
He's not Ross physically is either one capable, but perhaps I see him more in the Mitchell camp where he's there, he's just scheming.
I definitely think that in the history of Survivor, there's been some very big enigmatic, people who are great at, because obviously a lot of Survivor as well is the people who are good at telling the story, cutting the little interviews and stuff in between. It's because it's not just the challenges. You've got to then go to the person who's talking about the challenge or whatever it might be. I reckon Ross could probably I reckon second half. I reckon he could get through to the second half just based on.
Or Wiley.
Bevo's interesting to me. Because what do you reckon? Bevo could go either way, I reckon. I reckon Bevo would be pretty good at sourcing food. And
he's a leader of men. I think he's charismatic.
Yeah,
I think he could get the boys on
and he's a big
side.
Storyteller.
Yeah.
He's like a good tribal leader, storyteller. So I reckon he goes okay. But I reckon at the end of the day, you want somebody who's like a plotter, who's got some good physicality still.
Yeah.
And that they are able to play the social game in a sense.
I think that narrows it down to Bevo, Chris Scott, Dimmer. Longmuir, I don't know about. Longmuir's advantage is he'd be fly under the radar. He's not seen as a threat to anyone. Yeah. He could probably...
Which is great, by the way. That is a classic Survivor. Like, no one sees them as a threat until the final moment. I feel like Longmuir, I don't count Longmuir out, I reckon, based on that alone.
Okay. I like that. Well, he's the last 2 coach contests. Justin Longmuir has shown that he's the potential.
We've suddenly discovered him, and because we don't really know anything about him, we're painting whatever we want onto him.
We'll read one more bit of mail. This is from Jacko, who's got a theory on the Blues. I think we've worked out why Carlton are so bad. Ange Postecoglou, former Tottenham Spurs manager, is a Carlton supporter. The Spurs are famously known as being a shit EPL team and have not been reasonably successful. Under the current ownership, they've gone through 8 different managers in the last 10 years. While, yes, Carlton have only had 3 different coaches during that time, neither team has won anything. That was, obviously, until Big Ange won the Europa League this year, ending a 17-year trophy drought for the Spurs. However, he got sacked at the end of the season. This made the supporters split their minds whether they wanted to keep Ange or throw out the owners. Maybe for Carlton, it is a case of a terrible board who could be the root of this mediocrity. While I agree, it's probably not fair to compare the 2 teams' recent history because for the Spurs, there's multiple leagues, cups and stuff that the Spurs have a chance at. Maybe there should be a second top-level league or cup for Carlton to have a good chance at a trophy, and then they can sack Michael Voss after that, therefore making Carlton Spursy or Bluesy. Love the show. What do you reckon that?
Well, firstly, I'm not so sure about that exactly, but it's given me, I think, what is a better idea.
Mm-hmm.
That Ange Postecoglou should be recruited back to coach Carlton in the AFL next year.
Oh my God. Yes. What a fucking publicity win.
Huge coup for the AFL.
That's a great idea.
Ange comes back.
They couldn't afford him, could they? I mean, Carlton fucking could afford him.
But imagine the opportunity to, like, he can do what he will. He doesn't need the money anyway, right? Like, and what a Ted Lasso style maverick move from Ange to come back to Australia after, like, always wins a trophy in his second season, right? He's got this incredible level. He's like, well, I've coached in the EPL. What's my next challenge? I'm going to coach in the AFL.
I fucking think that is great.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, we wish we'd come up with this at the start of the episode. We could have done a whole hour on this. But we are out of time. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is Patreon, patreon.com/everyone relax. The full video of this show goes up on Sunday night, so you can get it earlier, a day earlier than everyone else. Plus, there's all our other great shows and ad-free episodes of every podcast on the Everyone Relax Network. Will, where can people find you telling funny jokes?
All over the place, including Canada. But like, if you want to see me in Australia, comedy.com.au is the place to find all the information about that. But I'm in Sydney, Wynnum and Sydney in a couple of weeks. They're the ones that are coming up.
And that is 2 guys, a 1 cup for this week. We'll be back next week. Play on, not 15.
Bye.
Little footy-loving dickheads, dreaming about a Premiership Cup. We love our clubs, but they never win. 2 flags in 100 years. That shit house. If you think we'll be insightful, clever, or just well researched, we're here to say that's not the case. We'll just go out and wing it. We are